Alright, hi guys, this is Aidev Guru, you're watching Guru Gyan. Welcome to another video on the channel. It's been long since we have had a chat on the channel, but yes, it's finally here. The time is finally here to talk about something related to sports, and this time it's about a pretty frustrating game between India and Oman. So let me give you a small let me give you a small backstory to what's happening around this particular game. It was supposed to be broadcasted on Eurosport. Eurosport backed out of broadcasting it in the end because there was no broadcast on either the ST channel for Eurosport or the HT channel. Eurosport ने मॉर्निंग में या कल सुबह इफ़ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग वो लोग ने एक सोशल मीडिया पे एक पोस्ट आ रहा था कि दिस मैच इज गोइंग टू ब्रॉडकास्ट इन इंडिया, विच इट वाजंट इन द एंड. देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ यूरोर ओवर इट. मैंने खुद यूरोस्पोर्ट का चैनल लिया टू जस्ट वॉच द गेम. I mean, there's nothing else exciting on that channel apart from this particular event that was going to happen on that particular channel. वो लोग ने end में broadcast नहीं किया. But what transpired in the end in the match, thankfully they didn't broadcast it because that would have been kind of a loss for them as well, because they just wanted to maintain a certain quality, and I'm pretty much sure that the Dutch league has a better quality to its matches than what we saw in the game between India and Oman. Now it is a 1-1 draw. Each team scored a goal each. We came back with a point, but don't let the scoreline fool you into believing that it was like a watchable draw. No, it wasn't. For the first 45 minutes, it was looking like it felt like when I'm talking about Burnley, they seemed like a Manchester City, and when I'm talking about Oman, they just seemed everything else apart from finishing off the chances with aplomb. I mean, the 1-1 scoreline is actually a boon for us because we escaped a drubbing in this particular game. We were really bad because first of all we had 6 people making their debuts, and I want to talk about Igor Stimac here. Igor Stimac has been giving chances to a lot of players. There has been a lot of furor over the debate that why he has ignored the I-League over picking players for the Indian football team. And the debate is pretty valid, but in the end, whoever plays for the Indian national team, whoever makes the cut in the first 11 for any games that we play, we need a certain amount of consistency in the 11 going forward. I think Stephen Constantine had that. Stephen Constantine had that too much. That is why we kind of ridiculed him, because he was just stringent on one particular 11, but that worked for him. And when I was talking to some of my friends, when the lineup came out, I expected that there would be a lack of cohesion to a huge extent, but I expected something fresh to come out. All right, I expected something fresh, something new to be brought into our particular game, where we'll be a little bit bold, because the players that were selected in the ISL, they had that boldness to them. They played with a certain amount of thrust, but probably they played with that certain amount of thrust because they had a lot of people to rely back on. That अच्छा ठीक है, अगर मैं आगे चला गया तो ये पीछे है बचाने के लिए, ठीक है. So because they had such kind of informed players playing in their respective teams, in this particular game, when we have picked these players didn't perform according to their ISL potential, and I don't expect that to happen as well. But एटलीस्ट साइंस तो दिखाओ, एटलीस्ट एक साइन दिखाओ कि प्रॉब्ली जिसके लिए तुमको तुम्हारी वाह करते थे आईएसएल में, एटलीस्ट 1-2 साइन तो दिखाओ, सो दैट हम लोग को भी पता चले कि ठीक है, फाइन. मतलब द आईएसएल वाज नॉट जस्ट लाइक क्या बोलते एक बार आया और फिर चला गया. इट वाज नॉट दैट काइंड ऑफ अ लीग फॉर दीज प्लेयर्स. सो एक बार एक दो साइन तो दिखाओ during the game, which we didn't see. And throughout the game, I think so for the full 90 minutes, Oman dominated us, apart from that one moment of magic from Bipin Singh that was like an inch perfect cross to Manveer Singh. And Manveer Singh, like throughout the game, there were 1 or 2 instances when We also got into good counter-attacking positions. There was, I don't know who came from the left at that point of time. There was a player who came in from the left. He was in a good crossing position, but Manveer Singh inexplicably came towards him rather than staying in the box. And that was the problem with him throughout the game. Sometimes he didn't track back. Sometimes he tracked back too much. And there were times when he didn't track back. The midfield was so behind. The midfield was so deep that there was acres of space between our midfield and defense. There was acres of space in which there were just Omani players. There was not a single Indian player. I don't think so. We could play between the lines. I don't think so. We have learned to play between the lines as of now. That is one crucial element to any football game. If you want to transition play, you have to learn to play between the lines. Oman were passing between the lines really well. They were finding gaps in our defense by dragging our defenders away from their positions. So starting when we were playing a 4-5-1, that's what I felt. We were playing a 4-5-1 starting May. By the end our formation, when Omanis were in our half, our formation was harakiri in the end, because it just felt like we have no idea or semblance to actually maintain a line, to organize ourselves. I don't think so. There was a certain Sandesh Chingan is a great defender, don't get me wrong. He actually proved his mettle in this game as well. He sometimes provided some really important blocks, but the people who were found out were the people who were very promising in the ISL. That was Akash Mishra. But again, there were some people who were found out because they were not good in the ISL as well. And I'm coming to Ashik Kurnian on this. First of all, I didn't understand the selection of Ashik Kurnian in the team sheet because he wasn't great in the ISL this season. I know that he's a good stalwart in the Indian football team, but let's face it, when you're playing that front three, again, you are playing Bipin Singh on the right. Bipin Singh rarely played on the right for Mumbai City FC. He was always effective on the left. You are playing Manveer Singh as a striker. Manveer Singh, yes, he is a central striker, but he was very, very effective for 80k when he was an inside forward on the right. So that could have been something that could have been employed to go forward with. You have left winger Ashik Kurnian. Now Ashik Kurnian missed quite a few games because of his injury with Bengaluru FC, because of his face injury with Bengaluru FC, or whatever injury he had at that point of time. But apart from that as well, Ashik Kurnian was not really impressive in this ISL season. And you are playing him, you're still starting with him. I don't understand that. The players who were pretty impressive, Liston Colasso, for example. Liston Colasso was pretty much one of my favorite Indian players in this ISL. Yes, he was a bit inconsistent, but when he showed magic, he was unstoppable. He was brilliant for Hyderabad. One of the rare finds in Indian football for every ISL season, and he was that. The second one was Ishan Pandita. So if you want a central striker, you should not look further than Ishan Pandita, because he is a real poacher. He came up. He was an absolutely impactful super sub from the bench for FC Goa, so he should have been given the start for the Indian football team. So my front three could have been Ishan Pandita as the central striker, and on the left you have probably Liston Colasso coming into the picture, and on the right you have Bipin Singh. On the left you have a Bipin Singh, and on the right you have a Manveer Singh, and Liston Colasso comes on from the bench later on in the second half. So that was how I would have envisioned it to happen. That didn't happen. Liston Colasso never came on from the bench as well, which was absolutely very, very, very much surprising. I don't know whether Igor Stimac was actually literally watching the same game as I was or many others were, because Ashik Kurnian was absolutely horrible throughout the game. I don't think so he had any impact on the game whatsoever. You are just keeping him in the game because of the fact that he's very energetic and stuff like that. That is not how a fan looks at it, to be very, very honest. And I really don't know what was going on in his mind at that point of time. You are bringing in Apuya so late in the game when you're looking at your midfield being overrun in the first 30 minutes itself. Your midfield was absolutely over, and in the first 30 minutes itself, there is apart from Rainier coming in at halftime, you have nobody else who can, like, you don't bring another midfielder in you could have probably brought another midfielder in at the 45-minute mark to probably strengthen your midfield a little bit better, to actually freshen up your midfield a little bit better, because it was absolutely over in the first half. So these are things that as a fan I was pretty much noticing in this particular game, and it was very shocking that Igor's team match, the in-game management of Igor's team match was so bad in this game that I don't know. It was pretty much these decisions that I just talked about, they were really inexplicable, and I expect a little bit more from a national team coach. To be honest, yes, we came out with a point, but I mean, it could have been a really, really bad result for us. But in the end, 1 point. We go into the next friendly now, and I hope Igor Stimac takes some lessons with him for this game, and I hope we have a better performance. We have a more bold approach towards the game, because in the second half I felt that at least for the first 20 minutes we had quite a high line. We were good, and that is when we actually got our goal as well, because we are maintaining a high line, and so that we could press them in their final third. So we were doing that. And in the first half, we were just sitting way too deep, just allowing them to come into our half and disrupt our formation, and that's what they did, and that's exactly how they got their goal as well. Because I will not fault Amrinder Singh completely for that. Amrinder Singh, the only option Amrinder Singh had was doing that, and it was just very unlucky for him. I'm just going to fault how our defenders were easily dragged away from their positions by Omani players, and that just left a lot of spaces for these Omani players to attack, and that's how their wingers attacked our wide spaces, and they got their goal. So that is exactly what happened with the game. That is what I believe. That is my match review for the game, and I hope that we learn a lot from this particular game for the next fixture, and at least improve on our performance. So yeah, I know I'm being a little bit harsh in this particular review, but I'm just seeing a spade as a spade. So that is my review in the end. I know that I've talked a lot about this game, but yes, there was a lot to talk about this game. There was a lot of frustration in my head regarding this game. So yes, it feels good to relieve it from my shoulders, and yes, I'll continue to back the blue, and please I hope that everybody else does that as well, even in the next game. And please यार, telecast थोड़ा सा like आजकल तो यार दूसरे साइट्स पे like दूसरी चीज़ें भी ढूंढना becomes much more easier than searching for an Indian football match. It is increasingly hard to actually search for an Indian football game and watch it on television. So I really hope in the next game at least कुछ तो easy बने हम लोग के लिए as fans, because we really want to see our Blue Tigers in action and hopefully perform well in the next game. So guys, that is it. Peace out from Guru Gyan, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video pretty soon. So take care.